The judge has ruled against Blake Lively, saying her emotional distress claims against Justin Baldoni are officially dead.
Blake Lively basically withdrew her claims of emotional distress caused by Justin Baldoni in her lawsuit. If Blake Lively actually baptized her children.
Blake Lively just lost it in court after the judge completely shut down her emotional distress claims. Her last-minute legal stunt didn't just fail, it exposed everything she was trying to hide.
All I know is the end of the line. It's not good for Blake. This was not a win for Blake. This is a win for Justin.
And when she tried dragging Taylor Swift into it, Taylor cut her off without saying a single word.
Blake Lively's groveling texts, voicemails, and emails that Taylor Swift is ghosting?
Judge Lehman made it loud and clear. Her emotional distress claims are dead in the water, not sinking, not drifting, dead. After months of melodrama, crocodile tears, and passive-aggressive smirks from the courtroom bench, the gavel finally dropped. And this time, it didn't land on Justin Baldoni. It landed right on Blake's golden image.
Okay, for now, focus here for a minute. Don't worry, their drama will keep going on. Think a little about yourself too. An Indonesian scientist has uncovered a shocking truth about belly fat, and it has nothing to do with diet or exercise. 95% of people who tried this strange bedtime ritual lost 25 pounds or more. Some even dropped over 50, all while sleeping. No gym, no starving, just one simple step before bed. It sounds crazy, but it's backed by science. Tap the link in the description and see for yourself.
The judge has ruled Blake Lively's emotional distress claims, they're now officially dead. Now
let's be honest. Blake thought she could waltz into court, sprinkle some tears, claim she's mentally destroyed, and then refuse to show any actual proof. That's Hollywood logic, right? But unfortunately for her, the courtroom runs on rules, not red carpets. Her motion to dismiss without prejudice, meaning she could come back and try again later when it's more convenient, was denied.
So she can't come back and change her mind. It's a done deal.
Straight up denied. And yes, Rule 15 was cited like the law means business, because it does. Judge Lehman practically rolled his eyes through the written order. Either Blake provides her mental health records, or she walks away from her own lawsuit, humiliated. She chose the latter.
He wrote this morning that Baldoni's motion to compel is denied, based on plaintiff's representation that the relevant claims will be withdrawn. That's the key here. Lively's request that because the parties have agreed to dismiss the 10th and 11th cause, the court exercise its inherent authority and authority under Rule 15 to dismiss them without prejudice is denied without prejudice to renewal.
And of course, what does Blake do next? Tries to spin it. Her team puts out vague statements about how this was mutual and how this doesn't affect the overall case. Please. Even Deadline, a trade outlet that usually tiptoes around celebrities, reported that the court rejected her request under Rule 15. That's not just a L, that's a billboard-sized loss, blinking in neon. She played the victim, and the judge basically said, nah, not today.
So they're stopping it. Just as Ron said, she can't have her cake and eat it too. Nice try, girl. Nope. If it's dismissed, you don't get to come bring it back. It's not with or without prejudice. I forget. Sorry, I'm not a lawyer.
But wait, it gets better. The judge actually warned her, like a parent talking to a misbehaving child, that if she doesn't officially withdraw these claims soon, she'll be banned from bringing up any new evidence tied to emotional distress ever again. Meaning, if she wants to try another pity party in the future, too bad. The court has closed that door and triple locked it. End of the road, sweetheart.
This is a lot of what the case is about. Now, she has other claims, of course, and other things, but this emotional distress is a big part of the damages. So to see her finally reveal this is big. And I've seen defenders of Blake, well, of course she did this. Why should she have to release her medical information?
And honestly, if we're being real here, this woman wasn't just trying to win a lawsuit. She was trying to build a whole sob story empire off this case. But the only empire she's building now is one of embarrassment. Because when the court calls your bluff in broad daylight, in front of your ex-best friend's fans, your career doesn't just take a hit, it gets torched.
The court exercised its inherent authority and authority Rule 15 to dismiss them without prejudice. Is denied without prejudice.
Now let's talk about that PR fairy tale Blake has been selling for years. You know the one where Taylor Swift is supposedly the godmother to her children? Yeah. Turns out that was made of plastic too. For years, Blake Lively paraded Taylor Swift like some badge of moral credibility. Look, my kids have a pop star godmother. I'm so wholesome. Except Taylor didn't even meet her until December 2015. And her daughter James? She was born in December 2014, one whole year before Taylor even knew who Blake was.
Well, here's the twist. Blake Lively did not know Taylor Swift when she had her first daughter, James.
You can literally find the first public photo of them together. It's dated. It's time-stamped. Blake can't fake that. The story started with some L'Oreal campaign where Blake name-dropped Taylor's Bad Blood video. Fans thought she was throwing shade. She said she was a fan. Then they became friends. Great. But godmother? To a kid she didn't even know existed? Who are we fooling here?
As I said, 1 year after her baby was born, how could she be the godmother of her first child?
And to make it even dumber, back in early 2015, Amber Tamblyn was shouting from the rooftops that she and the other sisterhood girls were James' godmothers. All three of them. But then, Blake got caught in her own PR lie and publicly walked it back. Said they weren't officially godmothers. Just close friends, fairy godmothers, spiritual support system, whatever that means.
It says here that I'm very excited for her and Ryan and to be an auntie. All of us are godmothers, so we are very happy. Yes, you heard right. Tamblyn alluded to the fact that each member of the sisterhood group is a godmother, including Alexis Bledel and America Ferrera.
So let's sum that up. First, her sister was the godmother. Then it was the sisterhood crew. Then it was Taylor. Now nobody really knows who it is. But you know what we do know? That Blake Lively will say literally anything to make herself sound more famous, more loved, more connected. She turned her kid's christening into a PR stunt. That's not motherly, that's marketing.
They're my dear friends. I would say my baby has a lot of fairy godmothers. When further pressed, Lively said that her sister Robin would be the one to take care of my baby.
And now, after all that back-patting and fake godmothering, the woman who once wore Taylor Swift like a Gucci handbag got left on red. And not just once. We're talking full ghost mode. Texts, voicemails, emails. Reports say Blake has been trying every possible method to reach Taylor, like some teenage ex-boyfriend begging for one last conversation. Except Taylor's done. She's not picking up. She's not replying. She's not even liking old Instagram posts. That's how cold it is.
Now, the juicier one. Now, again, alleged. Alleged. This is coming in from the Daily Mail, but they've been correct on some of this Taylor Swift story already. It seems Taylor can't come to the phone right now because she's dead. No, because she's just ignoring you, Blake.
Blake's messages reportedly begged Taylor to remember their decade of trust. She said there was a misunderstanding, that she would never harm their bond. Girl, the misunderstanding was you thinking you could throw Taylor under the bus legally and still get a birthday repost. One source even said Blake was graveling, which is honestly perfect because it sounds even more humiliating.
Because in a dramatic new blow for Swift's ex-best friend, her text calls and emails to the singer are going unanswered. An insider has exclusively revealed.
Imagine once using Taylor Swift as your ultimate PR badge, bragging about her in every interview, cashing in on the friendship, and now you're being ignored like a spam caller. That's not just sad, that's Shakespearean-level karma. And here's the irony. The same woman who used Taylor's name as a shield is now being ignored like an old email from a blocked sender. The silence isn't just loud, it's deafening. And that silence? It's doing more damage to Blake than any statement Taylor could have ever made. Because the message is clear. Taylor doesn't care.
She's been reaching out to her with texts, voicemails, and even emails, begging to mend what they once had. Blake isn't giving up on trying to get her friendship with Taylor back on track. Taylor hasn't responded to any of Blake's pleas. She ignored all her groveling excuses.
Taylor doesn't need to clap back. Taylor just moved on. And Blake's still stuck in last year's group chat, typing paragraphs to nobody. So now, let's ask the obvious. What's left? Her emotional distress claim is officially trashed. Her godmother narrative is publicly debunked. and her once glamorous friendship with the most powerful woman in pop culture, it's now a ghost story.
Because it's completely relevant. You can't claim emotional stress, and she knows this. You don't do that kind of lawsuit unless you're prepared to reveal it all. That's how this works.
Blake Lively, who built her brand on being relatable, witty, and effortlessly cool, is now coming off like a delusional ex-celebrity who thought everyone would keep playing along. But the show's over. The stage is empty, and Blake's standing in the middle, talking to herself while Taylor Swift walks off with a new squad, a clean conscience, and a front row seat to the fallout.
She ignored all her groveling excuses. The missives explain there must be some misunderstanding on Taylor's part and that she'd never do anything to harm their 10 years of closeness and personal secrets. Oh, well then why did you try, moron? It's all coming to head. You're getting exposed.
So Blake Lively pulled the oldest Hollywood trick in the book. Start a scandal, cry emotional damage, and then, when the receipts are due, back out like none of it ever happened. After dragging Justin Baldoni through months of reputational hell, what does she do? She quietly drops her central emotional abuse claim. No dramatic monologue, no courtroom tears, just a silent retreat. Why? Because the woman had zero medical evidence. Not a therapist's note, not a diagnosis, not even a sad face emoji to back her story.
And so for her to try to say, yeah, well, I'm distracted. Well, then they have every right to go check your history, your therapist's history, and say, well, is this something that was happening to you prior? So it's completely relevant, and yes, a big win for Justin.
And here's the best part. Justin didn't have to say a single word. The court sided with his team, led by Brian Friedman, who clearly came in like a wrecking ball wrapped in a legal brief. Friedman made it clear, Blake can't refile this claim later. That door is sealed shut, padlocked, burned down. If she thought she could pull a fast one, delay the damage, and then pop back in with more allegations once the media heat cooled off, nope, not happening. Meanwhile, Blake's PR team scrambled to reframe this whole mess like it was some mutual decision, as if this was a strategic chess move instead of a full-blown panic exit. But sorry, Blake, the only thing strategic here is how quietly Baldoni walked away from your circus without ever once picking up a mic. He didn't hold pressers, he didn't leak to TMZ, he just stood back while you drowned in your own spin machine. And the silence? That made your collapse even louder. While Blake was hurling accusations and quotes around like confetti, Baldoni was out here doing real human things, like, being kind. A fan story surfaced about how he took 7 months but still mailed back an autograph with an apology note. That's the kind of thing that leaves a mark. Real, quiet, unfakeable kindness. Meanwhile, Blake's out here doing character assassination cosplay with zero follow-through.
Interestingly enough, Justin's team has been quiet. Good on them. I think sometimes it's good to be quiet. Brian doesn't need to respond to everything.
And then it happened. The media finally woke up. After months of blindly parroting Blake's victim narrative, they started doing what they rarely do in Hollywood, actual fact-checking. And when they put Blake's timeline up next to reality, the whole thing cracked like cheap porcelain. First, we had Daily Mail revealing that Taylor Swift was completely ghosting Blake's frantic messages. Texts, voicemails, emails, all unanswered. Then, a week later, People magazine magically publishes an exclusive saying, Blake and Taylor are working on being on good terms. Really? 10 days after Blake's team was accused of blackmailing Taylor via subpoena threats, and suddenly they're back to hugging it out?
Woo! And good on you, Taylor, for ignoring her. She totally betrayed you. She used you. She exploited you and your fame, and you don't deserve that, man.
The contradictions were so laughable, it felt like watching two completely different movies starring the same delusional lead. And while people tried to polish the narrative, Taylor was doing something way more powerful, showing up with her actual friends. Swift was spotted dining with Selena Gomez and Dakota Johnson in Manhattan. Public places. You don't show up at Monkey Bar with Selena Gomez unless you want someone to see it. This wasn't a casual girls' night. This was a surgical PR kill shot. And Blake? She wasn't invited. Not to the dinner, not to the narrative, not even to the table. Every time she tried to push a headline, Taylor countered it with coordinated silence and strategic public appearances. It was a masterclass in how to handle betrayal, with complete and total indifference. No hashtags, no statements, just air. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a media fail. This was Blake's personal brand collapsing in real time. She went from America's sharp-tongued sweetheart to a courtroom liability with a god complex. And when the cameras weren't flattering her anymore, she lost the plot completely. No medical records, no therapist statements, no consistent story. Blake's emotional distress claim didn't just lose, it vaporized. People started asking real questions, like why did she suddenly withdraw the moment she was about to be questioned under oath? What was she hiding? What inconvenient little truths were buried in her medical history that she didn't want Justin's team or the public to see?
Or Lively shall renew her request by formal motion. For avoidance of doubt, if the claims are not dismissed, the court will preclude Lively from offering any evidence of emotional distress.
Even Judge Lehman had enough. He didn't just deny her request. He practically threatened her with sanctions if she tried to backtrack again without formal procedure. That's legalese for, you better stop playing games in my courtroom, Miss Gossip Girl. This judge wasn't here for celebrity tactics or victim theater. He was here for facts, and facts were something Blake just couldn't deliver. Legal analysts tore her apart too. Emotional distress is one of the hardest claims to prove, even when you have actual trauma. But Blake? She walked in like she was starring in a courtroom drama and forgot that judges don't care about red carpet reputations. Her arrogance wasn't just laughable, it was offensive. She thought the system would bend for her, that the judge would swoon over her cheekbones and let the evidence slide. Instead, she got the legal equivalent of a public slap. No refiling, no drama rerun, just one long, humiliating fall from grace. This isn't a comeback story. This is a career implosion wrapped in Chanel and ego. And you know what's worse than losing? Losing while pretending you won. Blake's out here pretending her lawsuit is still solid while the foundation has already caved in. She tried to turn this case into her next blockbuster, but the only thing it produced was headlines like Blake Lively's claims collapse, Taylor Swift cuts ties, and Judge rejects emotional distress.
She clarified that she was a huge fan of Swift's music, and then they later met during Swift's 1989 World Tour in Australia, and there's a photo of the two of them together in December 2015.
This is no longer a legal story. It's a personality autopsy. Every move Blake made only proved one thing. She was never the victim. She was the architect of her own downfall. And the more she tried to sell her heartbreak to the media, the more obvious it became that she wasn't hurt. She was just mad she got caught. So now, with the judge slamming doors shut, the media turning its back, and Taylor Swift moving on like nothing happened, Blake Lively is left standing alone in a courtroom that once felt like a stage. Only now, there's no audience, just echoes of her own performance. And not even her PR team can clap anymore. So what does Blake Lively do when her courtroom stunt explodes, her godmother lie is exposed, and her A-list reputation crumbles into a steaming pile of courtroom transcripts? She launches a line of vodka teas. You heard that right. While the media was dragging her name across the legal mud, Blake decided it was the perfect time to push a product she doesn't even consume. A woman who's publicly declared multiple times that she doesn't drink alcohol is now selling it. You can't make this stuff up.
Not just sweet, you can probably quantify a box office based on Taylor just doing something like that. Of course, it's a plus when Taylor Swift promotes your movie like that.
Her new brand? Betty Booze. Because apparently, if the courtroom doesn't go your way, you distract the public with a lemon wedge and a false narrative. 2 fancy flavors, Meyer Lemonade and Passion Fruit Vodka Iced Tea, hit the shelves faster than her credibility hit the floor.
She's focusing on her booze line this week after focusing on her hair care line, which is bombing. Now she's focusing on Betty Booze with 2 vodka iced teas, Meyer Lemonade and Passion Fruit.
And the internet? Let's just say the reaction wasn't thirst. It was confusion, mockery, and a whole lot of side eyes. TikTok users immediately clocked the contradiction. Why is a sober actress pushing liquor like she's the next Martha Stewart of hangovers? This wasn't brand building, it was panic branding, a last-ditch effort to distract people from the very public legal implosion happening under her nose. The timing was so tone-deaf, it felt like a punchline. One day she's trying to frame Justin Baldoni for emotional distress. The next she's showing off pastel-colored cocktail cans like the trial never happened. Critics didn't miss a beat. They called it out for exactly what it was, a cheap deflection. The booze wasn't selling, the story wasn't selling, and neither was the fake authenticity she's been clinging to for years. And here's the irony. Blake Lively built her image around being not like other girls. Witty, sharp, classy. But the second things got uncomfortable, she became just like every other celebrity in crisis, using consumer goods to bury bad press. You know what doesn't go well with vodka? Court transcripts and subpoenas. But she served it anyway. And the public didn't just sip it, they spit it out. Of course, even Betty Boos couldn't drown out the real reason this whole house of cards collapsed. Taylor Swift cut her off. And not just over a text spat or a misunderstanding. No, this went way deeper. According to insiders, Blake's legal team didn't just name-drop Taylor, they allegedly tried to subpoena her. Yes, Blake thought it would be a good idea to legally drag one of the most powerful women in entertainment into her petty courtroom drama. And if that wasn't delusional enough, it reportedly triggered Taylor's dad, Scott Swift, who personally condemned the move. When dad gets involved, you know it's serious.
So, and now it seems Taylor's dad has come into the chat calling out Blake and revealing that it was actually Blake's lawyers who tried to extort.
But Blake wasn't done torching the bridge. She threatened to leak old messages between her and Taylor, like some teenage girl flipping through dusty screenshots for revenge points. That's not just desperate, that's manipulative. That's blackmail adjacent, and all for what? For one more PR bump? For courtroom sympathy? It's giving final season villain energy. Blake used Taylor's name for years, used it to polish her image, to cement herself in the upper echelons of Hollywood's cool girls. But behind the scenes, she was preparing to throw her under the legal bus the second it suited her.
It sounds like it's all just, yeah, well, I've responded, I'm working on it, I'm groveling, I'm doing it, but she needs time before she can respond. That's how I read that. I don't know about you.
So Taylor did what Taylor does best. Nothing. She didn't scream, she didn't tweet, she didn't subtweet, she just walked away. And then made sure the world saw who she chose instead. Selena Gomez, Dakota Johnson, real friends, real trust, real support. Blake, left on read and left behind. This wasn't about fame, this was about values. And Taylor made it crystal clear who no longer belonged at the table. And let's be honest, the sisterhood is officially over. No reboot, no reunion, and this time, it's not a movie. It's a real-life drama with no third act, no redemption arc, and no applause. Blake thought she could script her own ending. Instead, she wrote herself out of the story. By the end of it all, the list of what Blake lost reads like a career obituary. Emotional distress claim, dismissed. The judge didn't just close the door, he slammed it shut with legal precision. He left zero room for spin, no gray areas, and absolutely no wiggle room for another act of courtroom theater. Taylor Swift? Ghosted. Not a call, not a comment, not even a breadcrumb on Instagram. Just digital silence and public disassociation. PR manipulation, fully exposed. From fake godmother stories to conveniently timed drink launches, the public finally saw through the smoke and mirrors.
If Blake Lively actually baptized her children, because to point out a godmother, you have to have a religious ceremony, and the godmother will be in the church papers.
And the court? Oh, the court was done playing. Judge Lehman didn't just deny Blake's requests. He cut off any path for redemption. No comeback filings, no emotional encore. Just a cold, clear message. The show is over. And what did Blake walk away with? Not justice, not sympathy, just embarrassment. A courtroom meltdown so spectacular it deserves its own documentary. Except no one's tuning in anymore. She entered this courtroom drama as an A-list powerhouse, rich, untouchable, beloved by media. She walked out as a cautionary tale, a punchline, a warning label for celebrities who think the world is still buying their brand of glossy, performative grief. Blake didn't just lose a case, she lost control of her narrative. And when that happens, the only thing left is the truth. And here's the brutal truth. Nobody's buying her story anymore. Not the fans, not the press, not the judge, not even her former friends. The damage isn't just legal, it's cultural. This was never about one court case. It was about years of image building unraveling in real time. A collapse so thorough, not even a lemonade vodka tea could distract from the mess. Betty Boos might still be sitting on shelves, but Blake Lively? She's not. She's sitting in the aftermath of her own chaos, surrounded by silence, sipping a product she doesn't even drink, hoping the public forgets what they just witnessed. They won't. Blake's courtroom fantasy just crashed into reality. Subscribe now because this meltdown isn't over yet.